had been removed. There wasn't the people that were appointed to the Congress Committee. I don't think there was enough support for that provision.
Okay. So what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I think it reveals that we're comfortable enforcing this rule on every local government in the state, but not willing to subject ourselves to the same standards. And I think that's obviously hypocritical. And I think what this debate about the Capitol has shown is that when it comes to the safety of the legislators, we're willing to start listening to concerns about security and practical considerations and think about what the actual common sense implications of this bill are. But when it comes to what happens in every park and every school around the state, we're applying a one-size-fits-all approach, and we wouldn't adopt that kind of one-size-fits-all. The rights trump everything for ourselves, but we're going to do that as it applies to local governments, and I think that's a mistake.
Do you think you ever got an answer to your question about guns in parks adjoining schools?
No, I don't think there was ever any type of response on the issue of and I don't think there was any response that was meaningful on the issue of parks that are adjacent to public schools. And in Nashville, that's about 50 of our public schools are right next to parks. That's where they have recess. It's where people congregate before and after school. And I think that we are putting a lot of our children and a lot of our schools into a situation where the law is unclear and confusing, and I think that's a real mistake.
Although it sounded like in his remarks afterward, he was pretty clear that guns will be allowed in those parks as long as no school-sponsored activity is underway.
Right, but when is there school-sponsored activity underway? And I mean, I think that I fear that we've created more problems than we've solved. And if we are not actually providing some clarity about when things can be near schools, then I think we've got a problem.
Let me ask you this: the Heller decision did that apply to carry, or did that just apply to maintaining guns in your home?
I mean, enough of a lawyer to not answer questions about Supreme Court cases that I haven't read lately. But I mean, I think that the Heller decision itself, I think, dealt with guns in your home, but it applied to the Second Amendment more broadly, and I think it at least recognized that while the Second Amendment is a right, it's one that is subject to at least some regulations. And I think that everyone recognizes that schools and playgrounds and government buildings are subject to those reasonable regulations. And so I think that's what we were trying to propose today is, if we're going to allow or to mandate guns throughout our parks, let's at least provide a little bit of a buffer zone between schools and that are adjacent to those parks.
Will you try to do that in your minority report?
I think we will, yeah.